Hi, this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. In this video, I'm going to continue reviewing some research I've already done on William Eaton, and I learned a few things that I wanted to share just in case you run across this as well. But first, let me introduce William Eaton to you. William Eaton was born about 1792 in England, and he died after 1866. And the primary source record we have for William Eaton is this 1850 US Census. And I think I may have shown this before, but we'll just look at it again. But this is the primary record we have for William Eaton and his family. And you can see here they're in Chambers County, Alabama. He's 58 years old. Okay, so let's look at him. The writing is a little bit hard because the ink here skips a little bit. But here he is, William Eaton, 58, and his occupation is ditcher, which has always been really curious to us that have been working on him about that occupation. And then it says here, England. And then his wife, Susan E., she's 36, born in Georgia. And then all of the children, William J., Sarah A., and Martha J. are all born in Georgia. And so the assumption is that the Eaton family was in Georgia at least by 1840 through about 1848 or so. I think Martha's about 2 years old here, so they would have been there until about 1848. William Jasper Jr. he's 10 in 1850. So in 1840, the family should be in Georgia. And so while we're looking at this, we're trying to find more information about William Eaton. We'd really love to be able to find out where he came from in England, but we don't know where in England he came from. We don't know when he came to the United States. We don't know when he was in Georgia, when he left Georgia and ended up in Alabama. Those are all questions we don't know. And so one of the places that we can look is the US Census. And we've looked and looked and looked and we can't find him. However, when I was working on Charles Henry Gilly in the previous video, I kind of highlighted some of that. And I'll show you the census here for Charles Gilly. He's in Habersham County, Georgia. And when I was looking at Charles Gilly, I happened to glance over on the next page. So you can see here we have 2 pages of the US Census. And Charles Gilly, let's find him again. Here he is, right here. He's right here. And I just happened to glance over on the second page. And if you look, you can see there's a William Eaton here. And this was really exciting because we hadn't found him before in the 1820 US Census. And if the William Eaton that's in Carroll County, Georgia, later with Charles, is the same Eaton that's here in Habersham County, then maybe there's something here that we need to look at closer, because we've been trying to find a connection between Charles Gilly and William Eaton, and then William Eaton of Carroll County to William Eaton of Chambers County, Alabama. So this was really pretty exciting. And I was also curious because we'd searched and searched and searched in the census indexes, and this William Eaton does not come up. So I can illustrate that. We'll just back out here. And if we go, and let me open up in a new tab here. If we go to the records on Family Search here, and let's say we want to search the 1820 census. Okay, so it's been indexed. It's been indexed by Ancestry, MyHeritage. They all pretty much share the same index. Sometimes there will be a few minor differences, but I found that the index for the 1820 census is identical as the one on Ancestry. In fact, it says here this index is provided by Ancestry.com. So let's look for William Eaton in Georgia. And there's no results found. So I learned that the index for the 1820 US Census is not very good. I've also found that the indexes for the 1830 and the 1840 census is also not very good. So if you suspect your ancestor is in a particular county, you need to look at every page of that county. And that may sound like a lot, but I promise if you were to look at this county for the 1820 US Census, it's not going to take you that long. The population of the United States wasn't that big in most places, and so you can get through it pretty quickly. And so I found that on the second page of this image here, that several of these people are not in the index. So really important that if you are trying to find someone in these early censuses, look on every page. The indexes are just not that good. They need to be redone, unfortunately. So now these particular census pages do not have the counties written on them. Sometimes they do. So you're just having to trust the film labels that this is Habersham County. Some of the pages for this particular census are labeled. In this case, the label is actually just starts at the beginning here. So if we were to just go back, it will say this is Habersham County. Actually, this says Habling. Okay, let's go forward a little bit here. So I just went backwards in the film and found the label that tells you that the following pages belong to Habersham County. And it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 images. And so it wouldn't take very long to go through that to make sure that, you know, your ancestor was there or not. Anyway, so keep that in mind about these early censuses, that you do need to be really diligent at looking at every page to find your ancestor. Okay, so here we are back on the page that we started with, and I wanted to make another point about the 1820 US Census. And this is something that I learned by going to the National Archives page on the 1820 US Census. So I'm going to jump over there so you can see this. This page is really fantastic. It gives you an overview about the census, what's there, what's missing, and everything. And if you scroll through, there's a lot of really good stuff here. But we're going to scroll down to this little paragraph right here. It says caution. And this is another thing to be very much aware of. The census was recorded on folded sheets of paper. And then those folded sheets were bound into books later. And then in the 1900s, the Census Bureau rebound the census in a uniform manner. So they probably had different size sheets of paper and all this stuff. And so the books were all different sizes. They unbound the original books and they separated the pages. And then that meant that the original order of the census pages were intermixed. Generally speaking, it appears as though the counties were kept together. I don't know if that's a for sure thing. And so the locations that are mentioned may be wrong for some of the pages. In 1959, the pages were rebound, but they were rebound in the way that they were bound previously. So they weren't, no order was restored in any way. And they have a picture here where there's another example of a problem where the top page is one town and the bottom page is another town. And so the moral of the story is you can't make any assumptions about locations. You you got to be very much aware that locations could be wrong and that people who are next to each other in the census may not have been anywhere near each other. Like I said, generally speaking, counties appear to be together, but just have that little caveat that there could be problems. Uh, there were a number of counties that were missing. So, as far as Georgia is concerned, these counties are missing in the 1820 U.S. Census. So, that might come into play later as we continue going over this. So, these 2 pages. We don't know which order they were in originally. And this Charles Gilly that's on the left side of the page and the William Eaton on the right side of the page may have been nowhere near each other. So we can't make any assumptions here that just because they were in the same county, they knew each other or had any association. It's true that the overall population of the county is small, so there is a chance that they may have run into each other. Who knows? But there was a lot of things happening, in this time period. There was people coming down from the north into Georgia and then migrating west. 1820 is still a little bit early, but the movement was starting to happen, and so they were there and then in the county and then eventually moved, and the county boundaries were also changing pretty rapidly. So we just have to be really careful and not assume that they were neighbors, that they knew each other or anything. We need other documentation for that. All right, so let's go back here to William Eaton. This is what we know for sure on the William Eaton that we are researching. And we can say now that there was a William Eaton in Habersham County. But I wanted to see if I could find my William Eaton in 1820, 1830, and 1840 U.S. Census. Because if he's in Carroll County, then I can say, well, that marriage record, that is a question for him, is a match. And so we're looking at this marriage record here, which it really should be disconnected because it's not a match, but it's still here because it's a matter of debate. But this marriage William Eaton to Susanna Gally in Carroll County, Georgia in 1833. So we're still trying to figure this out. And it's a question. So we're trying to see, is this William Eaton the same one that's in Carroll County, Georgia, and the same one that's in the 1820 U.S. Census? You can see there's a lot of connecting threads that have to happen in order for us to know for sure, one way or another, if they're all legitimate connections. And so I did a little research report, and I do have it uploaded to William Eaton on Family Search. But here's the report. And so if you're really curious, you can come in here and read it. But I've got some charts here. So this first one is a chart showing all the William Eatons in 1820, 1830, and 1840 U.S. Census in Georgia, because that's where we're looking. Our William Eaton should be in Georgia in some period of time in here. So I've got up here at the top the 1820 in Habersham County, and the breakdown for the 1820 census here, I've got it. Let's see. Here we go. Sorry for the scrolling. So this is the breakdown for the 1820 U.S. Census for this William Eaton, and he appears to be 45 years old or older. And he appears to have a wife that's also about 45 years or older, and 3 sons and 4 daughters. And our William Eaton should be 28 years old in 1820. If he was born in 1792, he'd be 28. So it's not a match. Right off the bat, we know it's not a match because the ages don't match. Then we have a bunch of William Eatons in 1830, In 1830, he should be 38 years old. And again, we don't have a good match. Now, it's possible that he reported his age as older than 38 and he's one of these 40 to 50-year-olds, but there's no way for us to know. The 1830 and these early censuses did not give enough information for us to know. You know, if there was one of these that said he was born in England, then yeah, we could definitely pay attention to that. And then again, in the 1840 census, he should be 48 years old. And again, we don't have a match. However, we know in 1840, so if we go back here and look, in 1840, he has a son, William Jasper, born about 1840. So in the census, there should be a child that is 0 to 5 years old. That was the column. And so when we look, there's two potential. We've got a William Eaton in Randolph County and a William Eaton in Chatham County if the reported age was off. However, when we look closer, there are no children in the household that are 0 to 5 years old for either the Randolph, William Eaton, or the Chatham. So that means that the William Eaton that we've been looking for that's in Chambers County, Alabama in 1850 is not in any of these early censuses for Georgia. Now, remember that we have some missing counties, and so if our William Eaton was in one of these counties, then we will never know because they're missing. And so there is an outside possibility that he was in one of these counties. And so since we have eliminated all of the other counties of Georgia, we could possibly look in these other counties. Now, Franklin County became a part of Lumpkin and Habersham County, and we know that he's not in the later censuses that may have incorporated that county. So I'd probably not even bother with looking at Franklin County anymore. And, you know, if he was the one that was in Habersham County later, then, you know, not a match. Columbia, Raven, and Twigs are possibilities of places to look. So we'll just kind of put that on the shelf for future research. But anyway, this report here summarizes the research that I was just sharing with you and my analysis, all of the source citations, and everything to show that the William Eaton in the 1850 U.S. Census is not a match for any of the William Eatons that are in Georgia between 1820 and 1840. So what does that mean? Well, we don't know when William Eaton came into the country. We don't have an immigration date or anything. We can say that he was in Georgia because it says his wife and children were born in Georgia, but his information was not captured in the census. And his first appearance in the census, as far as we know, is Chambers County, Alabama. And so I have that here in my results summary. And, you know, just say that as far as we know, we cannot connect William Eaton of Chambers County, Alabama to the William Eaton that shows up in Carroll County or in Habersham County. So, in other words, it's still a mystery. We're still looking. We're going to see if we can just search a little bit more and find some other records that show William Eaton from England. And the reason this is so important is because we've got to find some documentation, some connecting thread to that marriage record in Carroll County, Georgia. And right now we can't. And so it's an assumption to say that he was married to Susanna Gally. I suspect that he did not marry Susanna Gally, this William Eaton. I think it was another one. But until I have documentation, I can't say that either. So anyway, that's why this is a point of controversy among descendants trying to figure it out. I hope that was interesting for you to just so that you can look at the census and try to match up your ancestor in those early census records. Age and location is very important, so you got to pay attention to that. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you would like more of this content, please subscribe below. And I also have a link to a blog article that goes into more depth about this. So if you're interested, just jump on over there. We'll see you next time.